Hello everyone, Blind Dweller here. That was a weird overexcited intro, but I'm gonna roll with it because I am so excited to be back with this feature of inspiring art by independent artists. I've said it before and I'll say it a billion more times. Discovering new artists is one of my favourite things ever. For those who don't already know, I'm not a formally trained art critic or art history university student or anything like that. I'm just a huge art fan and an artist myself who loves art and talking about it. And finding new, undiscovered talent helps me get inspired and keep motivated. It also helps me learn or better understand techniques, and it gives me new ideas. Honestly, it's just the best. And today it's that time once again, and boy oh boy, the talent of you guys is just getting insane. Like, some of the submissions I'm getting nowadays are just getting incredible. You're making it so hard for me to choose, I gotta say. But for today's video, I've narrowed it down to some artwork of various kinds from various people around the world that I really think you're going to love. And I just can't wait to start sharing them with you all. Please keep your submissions coming, guys, and if you're an artist watching, I'll be sharing more details on how you can submit your work to me to feature on my channel at the end of this video. And speaking of people around the world, at some point when we all go out to explore it, we've got to learn at least a little bit of the native language of a country we're visiting, right? Which is why for today's video, I'd like to quickly share an exciting offer from today's video sponsor, Babbel, the #1 language learning app in the world. So a couple of videos ago I said that I was using Babbel to help me improve on my Portuguese. Since then, not to toot my own kazoo or anything, but I think I'm getting there. I'm making some improvements. Foi assim que aprendi a falar português. I mean, yeah, I'm not a bona fide bilinguist now or anything, but thanks to Babbel I've managed to get this far. And not just because it's so user-friendly and easy to get started, but because I can access it from anywhere, from my phone to my PC to my tablet. Because of this, I'm able to practice on Babbel pretty much wherever I am. Their AI technology allows you to learn pretty much the same way you would traditionally learn a new language, through authentic conversational scenarios. From the very get-go, Babbel teaches you words in the language of your choice that would normally pop up in a normal conversation. But not only that, you're also provided with a podcast tab. That's right, they have language learning podcasts available, as well as access to real-life language coaches all around the world to help you push yourself just that little bit further. Now, if you hit the link below, you'll find that Babbel is offering you guys 60% off your subscription if you sign up today. If you're hoping to learn a new language today, this is a deal you really don't want to miss out on. So again, just click the link below to find out more. Thank you again to Babbel for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado... What the hell was that? Without further ado, enjoy the video. First of all, I'd like to share with you the strangely gorgeous paintings of Hannah Imboden. Hannah is a 24-year-old artist who, although primarily an oil painter, likes to experiment with using multiple mediums ever since her school years. She is almost completely self-taught, learning more technical skills later on in her painting pursuits, whilst also developing her unique style in paintings that she explains deal with the feelings of being observed or under some kind of judgment. I'm so enthralled with her imagination that she displays so beautifully through this dreamlike imagery. Her use of colours are also so vivid and bizarre, such as her painting titled La Cure Head, that not only presents us with a jarring expression, but an entire vortex of colours that seem to clash against each other in a dazzling way. Be sure to check out her Instagram and show us some support via this username. The link is also in the description below to take you straight to her work. The next artwork I'd like to share with you comes from 18-year-old Sarah Rosenroth from Switzerland. Sarah likes to express herself through drawing, making music, and poetry. Her drawings that you see here now mostly delve into dark and moody atmospheres, with beautiful warped figures and faces that are so rich with detail. I love how subdued her use of colours are, quite similar to what I was explaining in my recent video on Beczinski. Although her use of colours are earthy, they nevertheless capture the eye begging for attention, due to the multiple tones contained within them, in the same way one responds to earthy colours of a Beczinski painting. Sometimes her drawings more vividly expose multiple colours, such as this one, where the figure is immersed in a warm, yellow light that instantly clashes with green and purple shadows, creating this really eye-catching display on top of the unnerving imagery. My absolute favourite of hers has to be this sketch though, displaying a crying face staring intensely ahead, with these strange wrinkles that seem to blend into the surroundings in this slimy, organic looking pattern. I wish I had a better way to describe exactly what it is I'm seeing in this one, because to be honest, I'm not exactly sure what it is, which is a real testament to Sary's creativity and imagination. If I'm stumped on how to reference what it is I'm seeing, I'd say you've got a pretty good skill in surrealism in my book. And what makes it more amazing is how well detailed it is. I strongly urge you to check out more of her projects and give us some support by checking out her website as well as her Instagram, what I've left links for in the description below. Next, I'd like to share with you what I like to refer to as dark abstract. I don't even know if that's the correct label for this type of art. To be honest, labels shouldn't even be a thing in art. But if that was a way I could describe the artwork of Billy Shoemate, that seems to be what comes to mind the most for me. Billy is actually a musician, a drummer who's been playing professionally since the early 2000s. However, perhaps due to the very nature of the industry, he was a heavy drug addict. On top of this, he would suffer from clinical depression, with his family life falling apart and with a best friend passing away. It would put Billy into a very dark place. Thankfully in 2006, he moved halfway across the country and since then has led a clean life. But that's not to say that Billy doesn't think the dark times in his life really seep into his art. He says he even notices things in the nice pretty colourful paintings, bits and pieces of a dark life that he once lived that he believes uniquely contributes to his painting. Billy is in fact self-taught and did not pick up a brush until just about a year ago when his grandmother sadly died of bone cancer. He got sick and tired of seeing the brushes that got willed to him from her. Her brushes were sitting in her closet just collecting dust. However, a close friend of Billy that works as a professional artist remarked that he was pulling off techniques that some artists take years to learn. This would forge a theory that Billy subconsciously learned a lot of this stuff from watching his grandmother, who was also an incredibly gifted artist. In fact, she was a master, who happened to be trained by the one and only Bob Ross. Yep, that's right, the wash in the old brush and beat the devil out of it guy. How cool is that? If you'd like to see more of Billy's work, I highly recommend you head over to his website via the link that you see here and in the description below. Next up, we have the despairing visions of Jacqueline Cogno, a self-taught 22-year-old artist who considers herself a multimedia artist, though finds herself gravitating towards painting the most. Since she was young, she often felt lonely because her view of the world differed so greatly from the people around her. It was only when she discovered artists like Francis Bacon and Edvard Munch she realised that she could build on something fulfilling and rewarding from the sometimes strange visions that we see on display now. Most of these are created with oil paint, as Jacqueline feels this medium lets her express her, quote, brain vomit the best. Her use of the brush is so elegant and delicate. This might sound bizarre to say, but it feels almost as if I'm seeing each and every single brush stroke in her painting. Well, okay, yeah, obviously I can see that, but what I mean is like every carefully placed layer of paint pops out, blending the execution of impressive realism with the very prominent juxtaposition of a paint splat or a brush stroke. My absolute favourite example of hers is this untitled painting displaying a mass of wings and limbs, with eyes peering through whilst tangled in chains tied down to a bed frame below. It's another beautiful example of one's pure imagination, and it just looks so dramatically beautiful to me. Her use of colours are so striking and ice cold, clashing with the blood red gore exploding in the centre of this carnage. It's so complex, yet effectively not overly complicated either. Her technique of painting just looks so relaxed and natural, yet the imagery itself is so incredibly intricate. It's such a cool style that I'm almost envious of, but in a constructive way. The more I see work like this coming from completely self-taught artists, the more motivated I am to not give up on my creativity. Which is why I really hope these videos help with your determination as well, if you're an artist watching or if you want to learn more about it. Because really, works like these clearly show how far one can go with just the right amount of willpower to learn on their own. Please check out more of her work via her Instagram. You can look her up via the username that's here on the screen, or just click on the link I've left in the description. Next up, we have some more strange and stunningly well-detailed drawings to look at, courtesy of 20-year-old Zeke Canby from North Carolina. Zeke explains that his drawings are often inspired by nature and dreams. He grew up closely to the woods and would go on long walks, typically in the evenings for hours at a time. He would look up at the night sky and he grew transfixed by the moon and how it shimmered behind tree branches. He also lived near a large river in his childhood, and during the evenings, he would lay down in the river, submerging himself completely. The water felt cleansing to him somehow. He discovered drawing later in life around age 17, and grew inspired by artists such as Kay Nielsen and Harry Clark. Zeke believes most of his drawings contain some kind of meaning that is hidden in the details or masked by symbols. Quote, "In my mind, almost all the images take place at night time. But this is not the nighttime of terror, but rather of pleasantness, solemnity, and peacefulness. The drawings circle like a mandala, eternally around my soul." End quote. I can't help but find his attention to detail so slick and precise. The amount of detail he incorporates in each piece is really impressive. Zeke explains usually each drawing takes between 15 to 30 hours split up over various days, weeks, or even months. When browsing through the majority of these, I can really see the time and effort he puts into each of these to bring his thoughts and feelings to life. Please check out more of his work via the links that you see here and in the description below. Next, I'm excited to share with you the mysterious works of Brian Chatty, a 31-year-old artist in British Columbia, Canada, who works primarily with oil paints on canvas or panel. Brian was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was 19 years old. Over the years, Brian taught himself how to express himself through art as a means to tackle his difficulties living with such a dominating mental condition. Although he had always done drawing since a very early age, it would not be until 2017 that he would start experimenting with acrylics. And finally, in 2021, he would transition to oil-based paint. The imagery he creates is always so chilling and intense at every turn. The windows into his head that he leaves open to us truly expose a visceral, but gorgeously presented perspective on what it feels like to live with such an illness like schizophrenia. The powerful atmosphere that radiates from his painting, titled Botfly Hybrid, really does, for me anyway, ignite unwelcome memories I have of being in situations where I felt like my own thoughts were tearing me apart. And this picture serves as almost a physicalized version of such a feeling. And his other painting, titled Cuckoo the Clown, again feels morbidly familiar to me. The expression of a clown is violently warped and pitifully submissive. The sensation of agonizing thoughts or doubts in your mind needling at you could be surmised by the imagery of a bird pecking at the clown's skull. Again, that's a very personal interpretation, and I don't suffer from schizophrenia myself, thank goodness, but I can only imagine with a fair amount of dread how dark and unnerving imagery like this could have been inspired from a mind like Brian's. But then let's remember that a lot of this imagery could also very fairly be interpreted as positive as well, given the fact all the artwork you see here now serves as a very therapeutic outlet for him and a means to ease his condition. If you'd like to see more, please check out his Facebook via the link that you see here on the screen or in the description below. Another artist who really inspired me recently is Christopher Zanoni, a multimedia artist who paints a surreal and lucid style of art that I absolutely adore. Probably because of how reminiscent it is of one of my favourite artists of all time, Francis Bacon, or more specifically, my favourite period of Bacon's during the 1980s, consisting of dark shadows, dramatic lighting, wide plateaus and vast spaces for backgrounds and abstract looking figures. The majority of paintings we see here now are his oil on canvas paintings, though he tells me since painting these, he has gone through various different cycles and phases of art, and probably favours thicker paint application nowadays, as opposed to the delicate and thinner applications of paint in these works. I have to say though, I really enjoy the more recent works as well, that have taken on a more direct style, at times far more abstract than what he did before, all done so stunningly with rich colours and thick outlines. Christopher has works on paper, canvas, and even wood. Typically he works the most on paper with a ballpoint pen, as it is clean, quick to start and stop, and cannot be erased. But he has also worked with pastel, charcoal, and occasionally integrating collage elements. Christopher explains that he is much more interested in manifesting from the subconscious, and finds that paper is the most direct way to do that. He can then translate those into paintings, wood, or other materials, believing something more may be there to explore through another medium. Quote, "For me, to execute in the medium of painting, you need a clear vision prior to starting, because painting is the building and refining layers from a foundation. Pulling from a subconscious directly to canvas usually ends in failure." End quote. If you'd like to see more and show him some love, please head over to his Instagram via the username you see here and in the link I left below. Next up, I'm eager to share the evoking paintings of Antonia Belavari, a painter from Croatia who previously studied graphic design and applied arts. Throughout most of her life, she struggled with depression, dark thoughts, eating disorders, and a constant feeling of not belonging anywhere. However, through self-determination, lying underneath her low self-confidence, she would find release and deal with those feelings by making art. As a result, a lot of her paintings radiate dark themes, and people around her never really liked them. She would always hear a demand to see happy, colourful paintings, landscapes, etc. Antonia's relationship with art was something else entirely. As an artist, she would always reach for the tranquility that came from pouring her feelings on canvas, as if she was able to imprison her demons on that canvas, and then be normal for a while. You may notice a few examples of Antonia's work containing a collage of sorts. She explained to me how over the years she tried to move away from painting her feelings and adapt to what people wanted to see. This may have prolonged the process of finding herself in her art, but also made a huge impact, because by wanting to portray every single thing that people wanted to see, made her experiment with collage, and would later still implement those collage elements into her paintings today. As she grew older and gained more confidence, she returned to portraying feelings, fears, and obsessions, but with more gentle pastel tones to, in a sense, make it more accessible for the eye of the viewer. Quote, "I find people aren't inclined to socialize with sad people, and painting my emotions always makes me happier, more optimistic, and socially acceptable, as if canvas is my therapist, which helps me deal with my dark emotions. I am very happy with myself and my art now, and I am also okay with people hating it if they want. I need to create no matter what people think." End quote. Personally, I find her blend of abstract and figurative art so visually pleasing. The themes are clearly morbid and powerful, but it still looks welcoming and even inviting. But I think that is actually a very difficult balance to achieve, and Antonia completely nails it. It's true that often if you want to make money in your art, you have to face this challenge more often than not. It's a sad reality of the industry, I'm afraid. But what's so inspiring about Antonia's work is that she remains steadfast to what she really wants to express, which is herself. That she does so beautifully and openly. It's important, of course, to experiment with different styles and be versatile, but the honesty of your work should never be changed, because that's ultimately where the pride in your craft will ignite from when you gain success. I just think she's awesome and deserves some love, so please go ahead and check out more of her work via the username to her Instagram that you see here, or via the link in the description below. So next up, we have an artist who I actually happen to meet on Instagram, an abstract dot work artist who goes by the name of Chill. Chill has a style of art that has been described as abstract pointillism. For those who don't know, pointillism is a term for a technique in painting in which small, distinct dots of colour are applied in patterns to form an image. George Seurat paintings being one famous example of this technique. Chill uses emulsion paint for his work to create these satisfying looking patterns of coloured dots that even at times trickle onto the frames themselves. But how did this strangely beautiful style come about exactly? Well, Chill tells me that he first got into abstract paintings after discovering the likes of Jackson Pollock. However, Chill had a slightly different approach in mind. He wanted to create something which was less messy, so he first started doing geometric paintings, but this resulted in him finding the process too simple. However, he would then go on to discover a painting which had dots. Loving it so much, he would meet up with the artist and she showed him how to do it, and Chill has been doing it ever since. Drawn to the process because it's simple and he can achieve the abstract style he always envisioned. I personally find his art to be very aesthetically pleasing, almost as if they serve a personal purpose to me of allowing me just to enjoy colour, if that makes sense. Although Chill doesn't do art for any therapeutic reasons or to convey some kind of heavy theme, I can't help but find his art incredibly inviting and calming. I guess him going by the pseudonym Chill all of a sudden makes a lot of sense. I also love how on occasion, he wanders off the canvas itself and onto the frame with his dot work, as if emphasizing the notion that his art never truly begins or ends. He also likes to experiment with his dot work on people via the beautiful nail designs that you can see here now. I absolutely adore his style, and if you do too, then waste no more time and give him a follow on Instagram via the username you see here now or via the link I've left in the description below. Next I want to show you the intense oil paintings of Arthur Topo, a 48-year-old artist from California, USA. Arthur started creating art originally for his own music projects, for example album covers and event posters, and would keep experimenting in different areas. One day he started doing digital art on his phone using a program called Ibis Paint. After experimenting for a few years and creating hundreds of paintings, he eventually tried painting on canvas, which in turn would move him into experimenting with the medium of oils, after falling in love with the way that you can manipulate form and colour using them. And all of these textures and cocktails of colour we can see here are ignited by what Arthur sees in his everyday life. Anything in a particular day could give him an idea, and he quickly does a sketch and stores it for later. He also takes pictures of interesting things he may see on the street, which sometimes he uses for inspiration. However, Arthur is particularly drawn to using horror elements and opportunities to hide deeper meanings inside his paintings. There is a real sense of freedom to enjoy how paint behaves whenever I look at Arthur's work. I love to see every crease, smudge, splat and blend of paint that makes his way into his work, indicating the joy he must feel to just let the paint wander and stay true to its nature as he creates the imagery. If you'd like to see more of his work, head to his Instagram under this username. I've of course also left a link to his Instagram, along with a link to his website in the description below. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Fazila Nazadean, a talented 22-year-old artist hailing from Bahrain. Fazila specializes in a style of surrealism that I absolutely love, a dystopian world that ranges from a deranged and foreboding to magical and paradisiacal. What I found myself admiring the most about her work when she submitted it to me was her level of brilliant imagination. The way her use of colours and almost hazy application of paint truly amplifies the sensation of looking at an image from a dream. Given the fact that her main influences are artists like Beczinski, Geoffrey Boschard and Suguru Tanaka, it comes to little surprise how her art seems to reflect such characteristics. By the way, yes, I know I've probably mispronounced many names and places by now, but I'm just gonna own it. You know the drill, it's a Blind Dweller video. Anyway, her fascination in ruins and statues can also be seen frequently in her work, which, as weird as it sounds, makes the world she creates feel very lived in, if that makes sense. Like there is thousands of years of lore that exists in her paintings that I just want to uncover like some archaeologist. But either way, I really applaud her beautiful artwork, which I just had to share with you guys today. If you guys would like to see more, then head to her Instagram via the username on screen or via the link I've left below. Now we're going to take a look at the remarkable works of Ben Lefevre, a self-taught artist based in Lexington, Kentucky, USA. You know, I really do get so excited when self-taught artists contact me, because often I end up beside myself when looking through their work that is executed with such skill and precision that even my own school art teacher would be jealous of. Ben's work is certainly no different. His imagination and creativity alone are impressive, but what caught my eye the most when looking through his work is his use of creating such striking lighting and shadows. I'm hugely fond of historic art, specifically 1600s and 1700s paintings, which many share the distinct dark shadowy foreground and patches of light in the distance or in the corners. Ever since I was young, I always found that so striking and incredible to look at. And Ben's imagery and technique seems to capture the same aesthetic. Some of his paintings look like they could exist on a tall ceiling of some alien cathedral. Ben also tells me since childhood, he has always been compelled to draw and used his art as a form of personal self-expression. However, when he discovered the work of artists such as Egon Schiele and Francis Bacon, it inspired him to take his work more seriously and push boundaries of his own expression. This, combined with his interest in metaphysical traditions, led him to create works that are allegorical or symbolic and still expressive on a bodily, emotional level, usually with acrylic, watercolors and mixed media. Ben has been consistently creating works for the past 10 to 15 years, and he had his artistic debut at the Lexington Art League Gallery in 2019 with his solo show Spirit Shadows. Touching upon his symbolic imagery again, Ben tells me that creating is a way of making sense of his personal life experiences by putting them in a mythic context. He says it is a constant negotiation between universally understood symbolic visuals and his idiosyncrasies, like monsters and figures of his own creation. In his most recent work, he says he's focusing on stretching, entangling and breaking the human figure in ways that are visually jarring, as a way to express the range of meaning involved in inhabiting the body. And on that note, I highly recommend you check out more of Ben's work and keep up to date with his latest projects by checking out his website. I've of course left a link for this in the description below. And that is it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you some inspiration or at least some new art to explore. It really would mean the world to me if you go and check out these artists and show them some support. And if you're an artist exploring my channel right now and want to get involved, I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Please send me an email with your artwork and a bit about yourself to blinddweller@gmail.com. If you just want to say hi, join my Discord server or reach out to me on Twitter and Instagram. Also, I want to thank my subscribers real quick because this channel has just hit a massive milestone. It's just hit 150,000 subscribers. That is a number I never thought I'd ever see. Like, it's ridiculous. Thank you so much. It's amazing that this channel has grown in the way it has. It's a bit scary sometimes, but it's also amazing. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I've honestly got a huge list of video ideas for the future, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to making more content for you guys. And as always, a shout out and a huge thank you to my top tier channel members: Jose Luis Undonez, Fernando Achicaro, Chris Collins, Fruit Dookie, Blaine B, Charlie Sanchezi, Paul Pereira, Classy Chassis, Proxy Nil, Ken B, and Carol H. If you'd like a shout out or want to see my content early, please consider becoming a Blind Dweller member today. I'm also going to be introducing exclusive monthly live streams to members soon, and possibly weekly ones as well, depending on how it all goes. So it would be good to see you there. Until next time then, everyone. See you in the next one soon. Keep being creative, and bye for now.